Now, the key figure to remember this evening is 270. That is the number of electoral votes that Donald Trump and Joe Biden need to reach the winning number for the presidency. But what exactly does that mean, and how does the American Electoral College system actually work? Well, Max Towle is going to explain it.
The Electoral College, in its essence, is basically a compromise.
If you think MMP's complicated, try America's Electoral College, which breaks down the presidential election by state. Everyone in the country makes their pick for the presidency, whether for Donald Trump, Joe Biden, or even Kanye West. Then each state counts up its own votes. Whichever candidate earns the most wins that state, and the electoral votes that go with it. Texas, for instance, is worth 38 electoral votes. Tennessee is worth 11. And poor old North Dakota is only worth 3. That's how candidates reach that golden number of 270, by winning more states and their electoral votes than the other. But what exactly are electoral votes? They are represented by 538 people called electors. These are each state's congressmen and women and their senators. OK, maybe I should let CNN's Tom Foreman have a go at explaining.
Each state selects its electors from a bunch of the good citizenry of that state, and they are proportional by the size of the congressional delegation from the states. For example, all of your Congress members and your senators combined produce the number of electoral votes you get in your state. So California gets a whole lot, Texas gets a lot, Montana, North Dakota, not so much.
This is why presidential candidates focus campaigning in the states worth more electoral votes, like Florida, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Win enough of these battleground states, and the Oval Office is in your sights. It's how Donald Trump won 4 years ago, despite Hillary Clinton winning more votes overall. Take Florida, for instance.
All eyes on Florida at this hour.
2 decades ago, the outcome in Florida decided the closest election in 150 years. With George W. Bush and Al Gore neck and neck on electoral votes, it came down to just a few hundred ballots in Florida. There was an intense recount before Florida's 29 electoral votes boosted George Bush's total to 271. The outcome in Florida has actually decided every election since 1996. That's the longest streak of any state, so keep an eye on that one tonight. Now, as electors are real people, their behaviour is one of the great acts of trust in American politics, because technically they don't have to give their electoral votes to whichever candidate wins their state. There have been rare occasions when electors have disagreed with the outcome and cast a different vote. In 2016, for instance, 5 Democrats rebelled in Washington and Hawaii, while 2 Texas Republicans gave their votes to John Kasich and Ron Paul in an effort to keep Trump out of the White House.
Now, a lot of worried people out there are trying to keep Trump from being president. In fact, a member of the Electoral College named Christopher Supran just wrote an op-ed titled, "Why I Will Not Cast My Electoral Vote for Donald Trump." Supran says Trump is unfit for office, and as evidence, he cites Donald Trump. This makes Supran what's called a faithless elector, also the name of a Lifetime movie about a wife who discovers her husband is having an affair with a voting machine.
These faithless electors very likely won't decide tonight's result, but there's always a chance. If neither candidate can get to 270, the result goes to the House, currently run by Democrats. Another possibility if things get close and a ruling needs to be made on whether absentee ballots get counted or not, or whether the process was fair in a certain state, then the Supreme Court would step in. That's part of the reason Amy Coney Barrett's hasty appointment to the bench was so controversial.
Will you commit to recusing yourself from any case arising from a dispute in the presidential election results?
I certainly hope that all members of the committee have more confidence in my integrity than to think that I would allow myself to be used as a pawn to decide this election for the American people.
This year has seen a huge early voter turnout and a dramatic increase in absentee ballots due to COVID. With each state handling vote counting differently, depending on how results fall, a winner could be declared on the night or in the coming days. For Checkpoint, Max Towle.